Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Cybersecurity Happy Hour podcast. I am your host, Christie, and the topic for today's podcast is data breaches. Now, what exactly is a data breach? Well, data breaches are types of security incidents. Okay, something has happened, and this happens intentionally. Okay, so whoever does this has an intention to actually leak the data, or intentionally, which is accidental. So what happens here is the information is either leaked, stolen, or used by some sort of cyber criminal, or it could even be an internal member of staff. Again, what exactly is being leaked? Either your confidential information or something that you want to keep private, okay? That is stored either on a network or possibly on a hard drive of some sort, or even in the cloud. And that information, that confidential information, has been accessed by an unauthorized third party and leaked out into the internet. What does the ICO is the Information Commissioner's Office within the UK. So we're going to look at what does the ICO say within, that aligns with UK GDPR. And I'm just going to kind of quote this verbatim. It says, the UK GDPR introduced a duty on all organizations to report certain personal data breaches to the relevant supervisory authority. So if, for example, like a company held personal information on their customers and there was a breach, they need to do what? Inform the affected party or the affected party or parties within 72 hours of that organization become aware of that breach, wherever is feasible. And also, he said, becoming aware of the breach. Okay, so they must be aware of it where feasible. So that's something that's key. As soon as they know about it, yes? All right. Now, if the breach is likely to result in a high risk of adversely affecting that individual's rights and freedoms, okay, then we must also inform that individual without undue delay. So if that's going to cause them some kind of risk, then they must let that individual know as soon as possible, especially we're talking about personal data here, personal identifiable information, something that's sensitive, okay? That's gonna have high risk. And that's how in the public, they need to let them know. This is what the ICO states. And of course, so the organization that is responsible for maintaining and keeping that data secure, they must also keep a record of any personal data breaches. It says regardless of whether you are required to notify or not. So you still have to keep a record of it. So let's look at this from the person that's been affected. So imagine you are going about your daily activities and you receive an email, because these alerts tend to be via email. Okay, so if you look at the historical breaches like Experian, and Yahoo, they informed the affected parties via email. Obviously, they can't ring everybody. Okay, so let's say you received that email, then that your information, there's been a data breach. So what should you do? So imagine, of course, as with any sort of incident, do not panic. Okay, do not panic, because if you panic and you become emotional, you're not going to have the right response. You might actually possibly worsen the situation. You say, okay, how can it get worse? But there's a possibility of that. So you need to kind of stay calm, and then you need to find out actually what is actually happening here. Now, the organization that has emailed you will also give you an advice. Okay, this is what you need to do straight away. Okay, so you just calm down, read that email, and apply the advice given by that organization. So that's one. So number two, if your business, let's say the business itself, you must have a response plan in place. Okay, so you must, of course, because an incident has happened, you need to then trigger your incident response plan and trigger the incident response team to deal with this. All right, then. So as an organization, I thought first of all, started with a personal point of view, but the organization, then of course I said, according to the ICO, then you need to notify your customers and affected party. Okay, now based in the UK, GDPR, but let's say you're in the US, for example, or another country, you need to understand what those privacy laws are and then respond accordingly. Okay. Now, again, as a business, you need to know what happens. So, apart from your incident response plan, then you will need to get in the security guys. All right, get in the security team, and you also need to get in forensics. Now, you may have an in-house security team, or you might have outsourced this to a third party, let's say MSP or managed security service provider. Okay, so they need to get on this. Possibly, you were probably alerted by your MSP if they were quite efficient, all right? So again, then you need to start remediating the problem. So that's really just how to just respond briefly, just a brief overview on how to respond if to a data breach. So just to remind you once again, this is a cyber and information security podcast. And do not forget to protect your data in transit and maintain your privacy by using our affiliate link for NordVPN. So if you look within our show notes, you're going to see the hyperlinks. But in order for you to kind of benefit from this, you're going to have to use our the coupon code. And the coupon code is IntexCyber, all one word, yes? And what do you get from using our special coupon code? You can get 70% off a 3-year plan and 1 month free. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again. So you're going to get 70% off a 3-year plan plus 1 month free. That's if you use the code IntexCyber. Now you're going to ask, okay, what caused this? What caused the data breach? And there's numerous things that may cause a data breach. One, it could be, of course, it's always malicious. Okay, most of the time it's malicious. That's not say intentional. Or the system where the information is stored has vulnerabilities or has weaknesses, and I've mentioned this in the previous podcast. So that means if they have vulnerabilities, possibly they have the system or the operating system has not been patched. Okay, so if there's a weakness, that means that will allow an unauthorized person, a cyber criminal, to get in. Okay, get in and open a back door. Possibly weak passwords. That's another one. Okay, so weak passwords. If, for example, you go on that you're using a system, you've created your credentials, and you've used a weak password that's easily cracked in, seconds, or is easily guessed, then they can get in and get access to that confidential information and leak it. All right, malware, malicious software as well, Trojan, and especially phishing emails. And I mentioned these in the past. So these are some of the reasons why data breaches can occur. So there's quite a number of reasons, but I've just mentioned a few just for you to understand how does this happen. All right, talked about the how. Now, you need to kind of confirm this. So if you're a business or an organization, or even the individual as well, it's personal data, to confirm. And one of the things you need to confirm is that, okay, did the breach actually happen? Yes, it happened. Okay, all right. So we need to kind of verify that it's actually happened. And then how do we know we can actually see the data published, possibly on a website? All right. It could be on a website. Well, basically, it's easily, even once a website, and when it's in a website, maybe then people can download it using FTP. There's many ways. So once you confirm that, what else can you do? If you're an individual, then you need to kind of verify that your data was among those. Your data was among those. This is not really a good thing to find out. I mean, you do be doing this with your fingers crossed. And then secondly, number two, you need to find out, okay, then what sort of data was stolen? Because if you see this in the past, they might say, okay, then it was credit cards that were stolen, for example. All right. So if it's something like credit cards, then what have they done with that credit card data? Then you can quickly cancel those credit cards as well. If it's something that can't be cancelled, there's some things that can't be cancelled, like your national insurance number. That kind of stays with you until you die, or social security number. Okay, unfortunately, that's quite serious because then they can use that information to apply for other things and have access to maybe your sensitive information. Okay, but you need to kind of verify that that has happened as well. For free, I would say change your passwords immediately. Okay, because once these passwords have been used, they're gonna use it. They're gonna reuse them again. All right. So again, change any passwords. Again, as I said to you, use the advice given by the organization. All right. Change your passwords immediately so that you can limit at least the damage. Then you need to there might be reasons we have to contact companies that you work with. You might have to inform your employer. Okay. Yes, you might need to inform your employer, or you might need to inform other interested parties, letting these interested parties to know that your data is out there. Okay, so let's say credit card. Let's say your credit card was harvested. They need to obviously let the credit card company know, and anywhere you use those credit cards. Okay, even it could be debit cards as well. So you want to make sure that you can immediately cancel any sort of financial data, that the credit card, debit cards, okay, and so that you can actually limit limit the damage, so that you can start obviously something that's quite important. Then look at your credit report, okay, immediately. If you haven't got one, go and register. There's some out there that for free, or sometimes places like Experian. The credit checking agency, they sometimes do offers for free. So go and check to make sure that no one's applied for credit in your name. And when I mean credit, it could be a loan. It could be a loan, of course. All right. So check your credit report. Now, once you've done your credit report, you've applied for it, and you start keeping an eye on that. All right. Possibly, you have to keep an eye on them. Create alerts, so that if anything happens or suspicious happens in the future, then you can obviously get alerted immediately. Now, going back to your credit reports as well, then you need to probably, if you're in the UK, probably go and report to the Action Fraud, for example. Let them know what's happening regarding theft of your personal information, theft of your data. Let them know immediately. Let all your banks, anything that's really affected, you need to let them know. If you do with medical records, well, we hope it's not medical records, then that's really serious, of course. But then those you can manage, control what you can control, and let the organization deal with the rest as well. Okay. The most important thing is, do not bury your head in the sand. That this has happened, okay, it's out there, nothing to do about it. But you still need to control it in one way or the other. Now, how can data breaches be avoided in the future? I mentioned one of the vulnerabilities earlier on, that possibly a system has not been patched. Okay, so implement patching or security updates. So make sure your software is updated, especially critical software, as soon as possible. Encryption. Make sure your data is encrypted. Use strong encryption, especially for confidential, sensitive information. All right. Use multi-factor authentication in support your credentials. All right. If you're an employer or business, make sure you educate your employees on what on the best practices. So really, your employees ideally should have gone on a security awareness training, right? So These are just to mention a few. Now, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you gained something from this. If you have any comments, please leave a comment, or if you've got any questions. Also, you can follow us on